fourth generation will return here. Here indicates the very point that Abraham is existing, where he's living and dwelling at, and that is in the land of Canaan. Point 10. That's point 10. Fourth generation. What we did was go to Matthew chapter 1. Matthew tells us there was 14 generations from Abraham to David.
Okay, so I have a question. So why are you writing on the board and can't nobody see it but you?
That's just the way I do things when I take notes. I ain't gonna do anything. I'm not gonna tell you to do anything that I don't already do. I said bring pencil and paper.
So you write it.
I got mine. You get yours.
So Antonio.
Point 11.
Antonio, come get your
big significant point. Hold on, let me finish, sister. I'm giving the room to reset for the ones who came in so they can get up to speed. The Amorites, the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. What this shows us is that before Israel can go into the land, the Amorites have to fill the measure of iniquity. Think of it as a vessel. The more they sin, the more the vessel fills. And they have to fill that measure before all these things can transpire. Point 1 and point 11 has to all fit into one picture because it is one picture. We've ruled out it being America because it is 2022.
Now, I will say this much. You have not ruled out that it's America. So stop that.
Well, what we did was, what this is a process of elimination. Part of this conversation, whether y'all are aware of it or not, we have been eliminating things as we're going along in all these different points. And all these different points have to be explained.
But you have to
we have ruled out the seed being Isaac. We ruled that out.
But you have not. You have not ruled anything out.
And we ruled out it being America because it's fourth generation.
We have not.
And I understand you're trying to push back, but let me finish.
Let me say this, Don. Okay, let me just say this. You haven't ruled anything out, Don. For those
I ruled it out.
No, you ruled it out.
When you say America,
you ruled it out.
Are you talking about the land of America or?
Yes,
well, not the land of America, right?
The land of America.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
No, I mean rule it out in terms
3 years ago, we were supposed to leave here. I'm sure y'all familiar with that, right? We were supposed to have been gone away from here about 3-4 years ago. 2 years straight. I got on Facebook and said, I apologize on behalf of all the false prophets out there. You're still in America, aren't you?
That's not.
Still in your chairs, aren't you?
Stop. I'll mute you for a second because you're not going to do that either. Bam. Nobody, we've established this numerous times, including JT. No one has said that in the 400 years people were leaving on this panel. Let's go ahead and establish this before folks start running and telling lies that we're saying this. Nobody has said after the 400 years that Jesus is coming. No, we didn't. What everybody's saying is after the 400 years, God will judge the nations. And then later on down the line, they will leave. But nobody is saying in 400 years we're gone. So we're not gonna say that, Don. Don't say that because that's not.
Wait, Sister E.
Sister
E, I would like to say this.
I'm not saying nobody said that.
Yeah, he's not saying that.
I'm not saying that.
But I want to say this for the record. I just want to say this for the record. That part that you explained, that's a readjustment. That was not being said before 2019.
Well, understand. I have never. Let me establish this. When I read the scripture, this is what I read because I wasn't involved in all the hoopla of the community saying, and the camps and all that. When I read it as such. It says that after the 400 years, the nations will be judged, and I always
not the nations,
the nation.
Yeah.
The nation will be judged. You know what I'm saying? The nation will be judged. This is where I've always took it as if, because it's not an adjustment for me. I've never adjusted anything. I've always said the nation is going to be judged. I ain't never packed no bags and said in 400 years we out. Even Pastor Darby has never said that.
No, and that's fine, Sister E. But that's I'm telling you, that's that's a newer version of the 400 years.
Well,
that is not the classical. So, Sister E, I just want to finish the point. What I'm saying is what you're saying, you're speaking for a small group of people, because I'm telling you that back in the year 2000, 2009, when this same discussion was being had, what you're saying, that was not part of the discussion. So when we talk about the 400 years doctrine, for people who might believe America is it, what you're saying is a more recent interpretation from other voices, but it's not the classical one among Israelites for the last 60 years in America.
Well, you got to also look at the same Israelites you're speaking of that taught this. Teach other doctrines that are outside of what we consider.
Well, no, not all of them, because my teachers taught me that, and
No, I'm just talking about all of them. I'm talking about some of them. Yeah, I take that back. But from my standpoint, when I read the scripture back in 2015 myself, I wasn't influenced by any groups. I wasn't influenced by any doctrine. It's just what I read. I have never taken the stance of, and we can't speak overall broad brushing and say that's what most of them believed in unless we talk to each individual person. From what I know and what others that I know and I deal with, including JT, because he's even mentioned that. Nowhere in the scripture did we identify there was a time clock, because we also say, well, time in the sense of the word Jesus is coming to get us, or Yeshua is coming to get us. Nowhere in that scripture does it say that. And when I read it, 2015, when I actually sat down and read it, I said, this is the season. We must be approaching the season where the Most High is getting ready to judge the nation. So I just want to take that stance, even though they have said it in the past. And I want you keep saying readjustment. It's not a readjustment for me. And it's not.
No, that's fair. No, Sister E, that's fair. But this conversation goes beyond us.
Yeah, it goes beyond.
And so because it does, sis, because it does, the majority of people out here who have been waiting for the 400 years to end were waiting for the Messiah to return at the end of 400 years. Just like some, unfortunately, were in past times. That's all I'm telling you. It don't have to represent every person, but I'm telling you the majority view. When you read that in 2015, I can't say you're lying. Like, if that's what you got from it, that's fine. But as you started to read that in 2015, it was other people in 2015 who understood that in 5 more years, we were out of here.
So, Zadok, I do want to say this, just dealing with other assemblies, I've seen that narrative seems like it hasn't been there. Now, I'm not going to just call names out of other assemblies, but people that I do in fellowship with, they've never pushed that in their ministries or whatever, that we were up and supposed to be out of here. So it seems, and maybe it's perspective, because on your end, you're saying, man, I'm dealing with people that have lost hope. On my end, I'm dealing with people that say, we ain't said that. So what happens is, and this is why this is why even when we take positions, the end.
He fell. JT, you fell to the audience, bro.
I'm trying to bring him back up. Who moved him to the audience? Okay, he's back.
Okay. Doggone it, I can't even remember what I was saying. Okay, so
no,
what was the last thing I said?
About the assemblies, and you said
okay. So what I was saying is there are assemblies that, when they were teaching of the 400 years, it was never made a mention of we up and out of here. And matter of fact, how do I know that? Because they're steady building here. They're steady, you're getting the farmlands. They're working together as a community and everything else. But what I do think is this is where we just have to be careful. This shouldn't be a point of contention. That's what I think. I think those positions, we all believe in a restoration, gathering, and a returning of the Messiah. Period, hands down. All right, we believe in that. We're teshuving, or we're wanting to walk in righteousness, waiting for that. So I do believe that needs to be done. But I can understand what Doc is saying, that on his side, a lot of people, if that was their, if that they were holding to that doctrine, I can see where you can lose heart, because you held onto that aspect of the doctrine with a misunderstanding of it. I hold to that that aspect of doctrine, but I don't have a misunderstanding of it. I don't have a misunderstanding that we were supposed to be gone. From your standpoint, you've been in it since 1996, Doc. So, hey, you heard it all. You've seen it all. I know that different other camps have said it was going to be at this time, and this is going to be at this time. And that's why I tell people, you might just want to be careful and just prepare your own heart for whenever it is.
Well, you know what? Got JT. I feel you 100%. But besides that difference, all the rest of the bones are the same. And so the rest of the bones of the prophecy having anything to do with America, all of that is the same.
Right.
And so when you hear someone like me teaching against it, and I talk to individuals that I'm just meeting over the last couple of years, as we talk, when I come on somebody's platform and say, no, I don't rock with the 400-year prophecy, it's not because of people who are newly involved in the last 5 or 10 years. No, this goes back much older than that. So there might be nuance of difference. Just like when you deal with the cats who believe Esau is the white man, you got some who believe white folks are Esau, but they can be saved. And then you got those who say white folks are Esau and they can't be saved. That's a difference. But my contention with both would be that the white man is not Esau. So I hear what you're saying, but my contention is, whether it's how you see it or some people I've dealt with in the past, like Sister E said, no, I've never seen that at the end of 400 years we would be leaving. I was seeing judgment come, but there's others who believe, no, at the end of 400 years we out of here. The common thing between it is the belief that the 400 years got anything to do with America. So whoever believes it got anything to do with America, that is still the same. You still gonna get the same argument from me on that part of it.
So your problem or your concern or your bone to pick outside of those who said that we're supposed to be out of here is also as it relates to America, correct?
Yes.
So what you're saying is ultimately those who read that scripture and say, that makes sense when it says that nation, because you pointed out that nation. And I'm glad you corrected me on that, but it goes back and it's saying that nation that you were, and again, we got to look at it from your standpoint to see why you're pushing back. But it goes back into that it's a single nation that's going to be ultimately, how can I say it? And I want to do a deeper conversation on America. Is America considered to be the Egypt? And that's going to be another conversation I'm going to have in the near future. Because this is something I think if we can get out of our emotions long enough to have that dialogue, we can be able to tap in and say, wait, this is your viewpoint, this is my viewpoint. I think right now there's so much tension that it comes to this, to the point that when you talk about it, it's America. No, it's not. And if anybody that argues with you that says it's not, then you consider to be, you're going against the community. Or on the other end, the ones who do believe, they're considered to be, you're just like those folks that said they're going to be delivered out of captivity when in the 400 year. No, that's not the case. I think if we can sit down and have that real conversation to say, what does it mean when you say it's America? Why do you see it as America? I see it as America because it goes into talking about that nation that is related to the eagle ultimately. That looks like, or it sounds like America. Now, am I saying 100%? No. But it does have some resemblance of it being America to make you say this makes sense. Now, again, keep in mind, this is at a time I'm reading scripture. I was not exposed to any craziness or foolishness when it pertains to saying 400 years we out of here, all this. These are the things that I came across, and when I read about it, when it kind of referenced that nation as a resemblance of the eagle, then I said that makes sense. Now, otherwise, people will be like, that doesn't make sense. So,
well, I get it, Sister E, but I'll digress here because I would love to hear Don finish. The point is that in Genesis 15, that's the only place the 400 years is spoken. The eagle is being transferred from the book of Deuteronomy all the way back to Genesis 15. Genesis 15 don't even make a name of the nation. It don't say anything. The only thing we know is that whoever Abraham's children are, that leaves that nation that God's judge, when they leave, they shall leave with great substance. But when is God bringing them back with that great substance? In the fourth generation, because at that time the sins of the Amorites will be finished. God name drops a people that have great power in the land at the time that Abraham is literally in it. So it's not just one verse. It's the entire Genesis 15 narrative. We have to talk about who the Amorites are. Like you said, like, hey, is America and Egypt? That's possible. But the only reason why Egypt would be a part of the conversation is because somebody throws Egypt in there, right? Because to be fair, Genesis 15 don't name Egypt. It don't give the nation a name. It don't describe the nation. The sign is your children shall be, strangers in the land that's not theirs, and they shall afflict them and oppress them for 400 years. And that nation will I judge and will bring them out with great substance. And they shall come back here in the fourth generation when the sins of the Amorites are finished. That's Genesis 15. So now it's just having a conversation, like you said.
Can I
I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah,